Welcome back. You are listening to the Maryam Mkwanda show on Salam Media. It is 12:46. So, yeah, when we think about the country that we're living in being considered unsafe for women and children, it's not something, it's no laughing matter. It's not something to be proud of. But we continue living as women and children out of fear. We are not, we don't just have the COVID-19 pandemic that we are fighting, but we have a femicide that we have to fight. Joining me on the line right now is attorney and founder of Women's Justice Foundation, Magdalene Moonsamy, to talk more about this femicide nation that we are living in and why is the message not getting across. Magdalene, good day. Thank you for joining me once again.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much for having me. Hope you're well. It's been a while. And that COVID is treating you well.
Oh, well, COVID is doing what COVID needs to do, and the show must go on. But thank you so much, Shukr. Now, the crimes against women are, well, it's still high, and it seems like the message is not getting across.
Maryam, we've been speaking about this a lot, you and I, on the show and with others. And I think the one thing that we must be honest about, and let's just talk about the Sakhafatso Pule incident, which is tragic, it's tragedy. These are things that are being perpetuated without any recourse, without accountability, and without the police being able to say, I mean, they've seen a suspect on the CCTV cameras, etc. But it can't be, in my view, that these women who are going through these challenges, it started just by a murder. It has to have been that they have been subject to abuse prior, that they have been in some way, whether verbal, physical, financial, psychologically, been abused. And they must have, at some point or another, confided in, and this is where I come in very strongly. They must have confided in a friend, somebody to say, this is the situation and that I'm going through. And my concern is, as a society, we need to start to take a stance, report these incidents. Now, femicide is we are one of the highest countries in the world statistically that femicide is just part of, when the policewoman, I don't recall her name, was killed and buried under a cement building in Mamelodi at some point. And then you had the girl who killed herself because she was having, stress, and her boyfriend was doing this. Now we have this incident. We know what transpired in the Western Cape, and it just keeps increasing. The problem is, and in my view, it is time that people go and lodge reports. If it is my sister, if it is my friend, if it is my neighbor. I got a call the other day from someplace in Durban, and they said to me, there's this woman who's literally screaming at night at the physical violence of her husband. And they thought that they must go to her and she will open a charge. These women are terrified. Terrified of losing this person. They're terrified of their financial stability if they don't have it. And in many communities, many women are not working. They're at home. They just have basic skills. And so for them to go out of a marriage home, first, there's a stigma attached that they are either left their husband or they're divorced or they're now how the system works. Secondly, there's the issue of, what do I do about the kids? What do I do about, where do I stay? Do I stay in a shelter? But if we can get together as a society and know. So I said to the people in Durban, I said to them, listen, this is my advice. You open a charge of public disturbance and disturbing of the peace against that household. And the police must then go in to investigate, because at some point, if a man knows that it is the community that has now become aware of the situation, and not because they kill the victim, in the event that the victim goes to open a charge, they end up in jail for a weekend. What happens? They get out of jail, right back there, 10 times harder, 10 times more violent, and in many instances death follows. And this we saw even in the Patel case in Limpopo, where the woman was beaten to death to the extent that her skull was broken at the hands of her husband. It took the police, because you see, it's also an issue of how do the police interface with the perpetrator. We need female police who are able to understand, sympathize, and act immediately, efficiently, and in accordance with what are the best interests of the woman and the child. So the concern about femicide, I agree, the stats are increasing. And what is most disturbing is that government is so preoccupied with the lockdown that they fail to
Mm-hmm.
realize that the criminal justice system, from the police to the defense force to every other form of law and order, has been moved towards putting people in jail for having more than three people in a car or not having a permit, as opposed to considering the fact that there are women who are being abused, and these men must go to jail, stay in jail until the lockdown is over. That must be the call. And we as a society need to come together and report these things, whether it is a high standing member of society or not. Those, if we don't hold ourselves accountable for what is happening to innocent women, then we ourselves are failing justice, because we have a right as citizens, as a people, to hold the justice system accountable and to hold the perpetrator accountable, from our neighborhoods, from our schools, from whichever area of work we are in.
Wow, it's so scary to be a woman living in South Africa because you never know when you might be next. And which brings me to the question like, how many more deaths need to happen for government to take action, for communities to take action? Does it really have to be closer to home? Can you not sympathize with the next person of the next community? I mean, many of us do not know Tsegopaso Pule, but as women, we sympathize with her. But now, does it really have to get to a point where this is a closer to home, that it's my neighbor who was killed or it's my sister who was killed? We don't really need to go there, do we?
You ask such a pertinent and valuable question. How much further before we get it right? And the reality is that there is going to come a point where women in this country are going to start becoming vigilantes,
Mm-hmm.
simply because when it comes to your daughter, if there is no control, there are so many lies currently circulating that domestic violence has dropped, alcohol has been a stimulant, and now domestic violence has dropped. It is not true. It's not that alcohol is not an agitator, but these women are living in their homes. They are women who are married and are forced, they are raped by their husbands every day. Remember, we've been in lockdown, Maryam, since March.
Mm.
It's going into our fourth month, Maryam. Do you understand these women who maybe get to see their husbands um, on the weekend or after work? They know that they have to prepare themselves. Imagine a home with children knowing daddy's coming home at 7 o'clock. Oh, make sure this is done, go to bed, do this. Fear. We are a society uh, entrenched with fear. And all I'm saying is that no, you are correct. No, not another life. Because it's too late then. It's just too late when that life has already been taken. And this is a woman who's 8 months pregnant,
Mm.
a young girl. I think she's 28 years old, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Eight. Are you telling me that throughout the 8 month period, the guy could not have, said, okay, fine, I want to distance myself from being a father to the child? The woman could not have then said, who do I turn to assist me as to how to raise a child? Family, friends, knowing she's got the confidence to be able to say, okay, fine, I'm taking this decision. I'm going to keep my baby and I can do it on my own. How much must he have abused her before the point of killing her, stabbing her? This is genocide. This is genocide, not just femicide. It is a genocide on women. It's an act of terror on women. And we need to find it within our hearts as people. Yes, a lot of people say, oh, you don't want to get involved because tomorrow they'll get back together. Go to the police station. Say to them, this home, this man beats his wife every day. Here's the proof. Here is, now we have smartphones. This is what we recorded. This is what we know. I'm a friend. My friend comes to me. My boyfriend beat me on my face. She doesn't. I report it. If she doesn't want to be my friend, it's fine. As long as I know I have participated in circumventing or being a part of knowing that any decision that she has taken. But Mariam, one of the things that's very important, I get very
Mm.
passionate about the subject, is how do we educate each other as women and support each other? One of the biggest struggles that can bring to its knees the crisis of femicide, gender-based violence. I had a conversation the other day with a guy who runs an NGO in the DRC. Sexually gender-based violence, where children are raped, child marriages, where children are sold for a loaf of bread, Mariam, a loaf of bread. And my point is, let's get together as women, give each other confidence, share information, come out and say, guys, look, if there's anyone amongst you and we're chilling and having a cup of tea and cake, even if you make up a story knowing that a person in that room is being abused, these are places that can help you and these are things that can be done to assist you, so that we find creative ways of first helping a victim understand that she is not one. Secondly, giving her the tools and the options that she knows she can turn to X, Y, and Z. Three, creating the awareness that this is more damaging and um, uh, uh, cost cost the lives of her children, her future. And the minute we are able to, as a strong community, not remember that we've moved past the days where respect by men towards women knew their role,
Mm.
men knew their role. We're now in a world that is changing, where people have more needs. They need bigger houses, bigger cars, bigger hairstyles, whatever they need. So we can't use the same means of engagement. We need to create those support mechanisms as a matter of urgency all the time, which is why I believe that this case of this woman's death, it's not just killing her, it's killing a child. This is already a child. And it's mortifying. And I want to make an appeal and a call and a send out a very strong message of condemnation against the police, the Ministry of Police, the National Commission of Police, the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development, and everybody else in the cluster, that one is one too many. And if we are going to find ourselves, all we know is that the guy goes to jail and then he sits there for 25 years, gets 3 meals a day, while a family has lost their, their child, their grandchild, their friend, their colleague. And, these are the things that we need to make it become the absolute end of the road. That we want answers. We want answers and we want them now. And we want women to come forward. We want women to say, this husband of mine, I need a grant to help me to survive for 6 months before I can get a job. This is what we must call for, Maryam. We must call for a special grant for women who are being abused, to set them up in a very simple shelter, whatever the case is, 6 months to feed themselves, find a job, and get out of the abusive situation. And most importantly, the major thing is that during this time, all shelters must abused men who are these abusers, these perpetrators must be removed from the home. They must be placed in places of shelter or safety or wherever it is, but not be kept in the home with with these people. But the issue of femicide, going back to it, it's intolerable, it's unaccepted. We reject it. We say to the minister, do something, say something, stop lying to us that our women are safe, because they are not safe. Do not lie to us anymore. We know what we experience, we know the lives that we lead. We want honest leadership.
All right,
And
so thank you so much for your time, Magdalene. I'm going to leave it there for now, as time is not on
okay,
our side. But thank you so much for your time. And indeed, we need to take action and we condemn. Government should stand with us side by side and condemn this issue of femicide. The numbers just cannot continue increasing. And then we go out there and say, oh, the numbers is this much now. Oh, that woman has been killed. No, it's enough now. Enough is enough. I mean, we cannot become a vigilantes just to show that we are tired of this. No, we cannot reach that point.
just one more thing, Mariam. I
Quickly.
think where the criminal justice system fails is allowing these men back on the street. They need to keep their jobs, go into community service programs of cleaning gardens, creating whatever they have to do. But even if a person goes in and a charge is withdrawn, that person must be given an immediate sentence of community service to rebuild and to rehelp themselves, because this is a disease.
Mhm.
Patriarchy, murder, oppression of women is a disease, and we can fight this disease by government saying any man who walks in here for even having slapped, sworn at, or done anything to a woman, you will get community service. There's no bail. There's no bail. And our people must together stand up what we know about, who we know about, we go and we report it. We become a society that fights back, and we become a society that says, you hurt her, it could be my daughter next.
Mhm.
So we need to be that society. So thank you so much, Mariam.
It's a pleasure. Shukran for joining me. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Magdalene Moonsamy, attorney and founder of the Women's Justice Foundation, calling for government to condemn this and not just sit behind computer screens and arrest people for doing lousy crimes such as breaking the COVID laws and having one person extra in a church or a masjid. No, this is too much. I mean, enough is enough. Thank you so much for joining me on this week's edition of the Maryam Mkwanda Show. I will be back on Monday once again for more conversation and interesting topics and guests whom I will be chatting to. And that will be 11 to 1 p.m. right here on Salam Media. Unfortunately, we've just gone a little bit over the time, but I hope you guys understand. Keep the conversations going on social media. You can leave your comments in the comments section below or send them to our WhatsApp number on 0617660355 from myself, Maryam Mkwanda, and the Salam Media team. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.